And now, for fans of the most exciting sport in the world, the MMA Live Chat Hour. Listen up and find out what's happening in the world of MMA. Hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Hour. I'm Davie and it's Thursday, February 13th, 2014. 2 days before the UFC Fight Night 36 Machida vs. Mousasi event. On today's show, we'll be giving our predictions for the UFC Fight Night 36 Machida vs. Mousasi event, and we'll briefly talk about the fights on the main card. On today's show, we have yours truly, Wes, Damon, David, Jacob, and Murat. Okay, guys, thanks for taking part in another show. I appreciate you all taking the time to be here and joining me to discuss the main card and give your predictions. Go ahead and say hello to anybody that might be listening.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
Howdy.
Good to be on.
Okay, guys. A couple of you guys haven't been on the show with us before for this season of predictions anyway. So we're already 3 rounds in. So you guys, when you give your predictions, we're just going to add you to the results as they're tallied now. So you're going to be trailing behind the other guys, but if you're excellent with your picks, you might be able to come up on the pack of guys that have already got their picks in for the shows that we've done already. This is round 4 of the Season 2 predictions that we've been doing, and we'll recap how the crew is doing after 3 rounds of fight predictions in just a minute. But first, here's how we score the results of our predictions. Recapping the scoring system. If you pick the correct fighter but don't get the correct method around, you earn 4 points. If you pick the correct fighter and method or the correct fighter and round, you earn 7 points. If you pick the correct fighter, round, and method or correctly call the winner by decision, you earn 10 points. Here's how the guys did on the last prediction show. David and Damon went 5-2 with their picks. Rich went 4-3 with his picks. Wes and Alex went 3-4 with their picks. And here's how we placed on the last show. First place, Damon went 5-2 with 32 points out of 70. Second place, David went 5-2 with 30 points out of 70. Third place, Rich went 4-3 with 22 points out of 70. Fourth place, Alex went 3-4 with 18 points out of 70. And in fifth place, Wes went 3-4 with 12 points out of 70. And after 3 rounds of predictions, in first place we have Damon Gazelle. He's now 13-7 with 91 points out of 200. Rich Davie in second, now 14-6 with 89 points out of 200. Third place, David Petruic is now 12-8 with 82 points out of 200. Fourth place, Wes Fiorentino is now 12-8 with 75 points out of 200. And in fifth place, Alex Schlinsky is now 6-7 with 45 points out of 130. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into things here. As I mentioned earlier, Jacob and Murat missed the first 3 rounds of Season 2 predictions, but we'll get them started in round 4. All right, let's start right away with the main event, UFC Fight Night 36, Machida versus Mousasi. Wes, how do you see that one unfolding, and what's your prediction?
I definitely see this one playing out like a chess match. Obviously, both guys are very technical, both on the feet and on the ground. It is a 5-round fight, and I know that a lot of times that favors finishes, especially in the heavier weight classes. But I'm going to have to go with Machida by decision on this one. I think he's better with his footwork, better in the clinch game, probably a more solid grappler. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Machida, like I said, by a 5-round decision.
Okay, Damon.
Yeah, I see this fight going to be a chess match as well, like Wes said. But I actually believe Machida is got something to prove in the division, and if he's going to want to get the title, he's going to have to do some get some finishes. So I'm actually going to pick him by a TKO in round 3.
Okay, David.
Yeah, I see it unfolding similar, definitely. I think I'm going to go with TKO Machida round 2.
Okay. And Jacob.
I've got Machida as well. I think he'll knock Mousasi out in the 4th. I definitely give Mousasi a chance. He's he's more than capable. He's got, I think, something like 26 first-round finishes. But yeah, I think Machida will outwork him and get the finish late.
Okay, Murat?
Machida will win via decision because he's better at every aspect, and might see an upset too. You gotta give credit to Gegard, but that's my decision.
Okay, and I'm the guy that goes by numbers and stats here. Both men are nearly identical in physical stats. Machida is clearly the favorite by both odds makers and fans. Mousasi is 7 years younger, and that stat typically favors the younger fighter, but I don't think it's going to be a factor in this fight. Mousasi he hasn't really fought for what, almost a year now, 8 months or so?
Yeah, he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, I think this one's going to go to a decision, so I'm in agreement with Wes and Murat. I think Machida wins this one by decision. Okay, guys, you want to talk about that one a little bit before we move on?
Yeah, like I said, I just think with Machida going down a weight class, and this being, I believe, his second fight in that weight class, if he's planning on going to a championship match, he's going to have to show that he's actually able to finish again. He's gonna have to show Uncle Dana something to actually put him in a match up against whoever's the champ, if Weidman keeps the belt or not, because Machida, former light heavyweight champion, he's got the potential to become champ again, but he's got to be exciting. I think Dana likes to pick matchups for the championships based on your fights as well as wins and losses. So if Machida's wanting to go back and get a belt, I think he's going to have to go out there. He's going to have to finish his style. Just the judges don't favor his style, and he's going to have to get some finishes together.
Okay, David?
Yeah, they just from how insiders are looking at it, I think Mousasi, I think what a lot of people are saying is they actually really expect him to push the pace on Machida. So I think at this stage in his career, Machida is just so technically sound. I think that pushing the pace on him is going to be the biggest mistake, and it's going to pay off for Machida by a TKO in the second.
Okay, Murat?
Like I said, decision. That's all I can say.
Wes?
I agree that I think Mousasi's probably going to be coming forward, pushing Machida a little bit. And it's hard to say exactly how that's going to play out for him because, I mean, we've seen guys, obviously most guys get destroyed when they try to come forward with Machida, opening up with combinations rather than waiting for Machida to strike first. But, we also saw Shogun charge in repeatedly and eventually, in the first round, that big right hand, cold cocked him in the side of the head and just knocked him out cold. So I don't think Mousasi has quite that kind of power. And I also don't think that I just feel like Machida's footwork, the way he circles out, his ability to counter, his movement, his head movement, I think it's going to be too solid for Mousasi come tomorrow night.
Yeah, it looks like we're all in agreement here, but as I was doing my research on the matchup, there were some models that were predicting that Mousasi is going to win, but I just don't see that happening. I guess none of you guys do either. So
well, wouldn't be the biggest upset.
Yeah, you can't sleep on him or anything, but I just think Machida going down in weight, he's going to be much quicker. He's the older guy, but I mean he's got experience like none other. He's a former belt holder. Right?
Yeah.
I don't see him. I haven't seen him slow down. The losses that he's taken have all been because of either decisions or like the Shogun fight. Shogun had a chip on the shoulder from the first fight where they actually gave the decision to Machida.
Yeah, and I don't see Mousasi effectively leg kicking Machida for 5 rounds like Shogun did either.
Yeah, and Mousasi might even have a slight advantage in the size when they come in and weight because he's typically walks around at a larger weight than.
He's also
Machida.
a former light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably a little taller than Machida. Machida's not exactly the tallest guy at 185 or 205.
Yeah.
I like the way Machida matches up against other guys in the division too. If he wins this
Well,
fight,
they both, I believe they both have fought as light heavyweights and heavyweights, haven't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
But Mousasi as a heavyweight, he's fighting in Dream against guys like Sokoju. So for what that's worth. And I think
Any
Bob
other
Sapp.
comments
Did
on
he
that
fight
before
Bob
we move
Sapp?
on? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying. I think at heavyweight he fought like Bob Sapp, and I think he like heel hooked him or something like that.
And that doesn't count, does it?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it counts on paper.
All right, let's move on. Fight number 2. Francis Carmont versus Jacare Souza. Wes.
I'm actually pretty excited to see how this plays out. I think, honestly, we're going to see Jacare take this one to the ground and eat Carmont alive. But it's all about getting it there. I mean, I think that Jacare is probably one of the most dynamic, actually, takedown artists to come out of the sort of traditional jiu-jitsu background. He's got a great double leg as opposed to guys like Damian Maia who like to pull guard or hit, very technical throws. Jacare is very, very explosive with his sort of power double leg takedown that he has. If he gets on top of Carmont, I think it's only a matter of time before he taps him. And, obviously Carmont's got the kickboxing background. And I've read in a couple places that people think that he's going to be able to keep away from Jacare. But Jacare's boxing has gotten much, much better over the years. I think he'll be able to at least hang with him on the feet with straight punches. And, it's only a matter of time before he opens up with one of those combinations and then goes in for the double leg. And I don't think Carmont's going to be able to stop that double leg consistently.
Okay, and how do you see the finish?
I'm going to take Jacare, probably submission in round 2.
Okay, Damon?
Yeah, Carmont actually been looking really good. I mean, he's got a string of wins and
11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just see the match. I see them both feeling each other out for the first round. I see them both well aware of each other's talents, and I think really it's gonna be more of a bigger chess match than the Machida and Gegard fight. And I really think that this one's going to go to a decision, and I think Jacare will get the decision.
Okay, David?
Yeah, I'm going with that one, Jacare decision.
Wow, that was short and sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Jacob.
I've got Jacare. Sorry, Souza. My pronunciation's bad. I'll go him in first round sub. I reckon he's going to rock Carmont. I just don't see where Carmont is better than him, to be honest. The only way I think Carmont can win is if he makes it a really boring fight and stifles the attack in the clinch. But yeah, I think Souza's just too much of a beast.
Okay.
Yeah, first round
Agreed.
sub, I'm saying.
You're saying sub in 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Murat?
I got Jacare because I love his jiu-jitsu. I think he's going to finish the second round. Maybe Kimura. I think Kimura.
Okay.
Rip his arm off.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, for my breakdown on the... and you said in what, round
2.
2? Okay. All right, and with me, looking at the numbers here, Jacare is a huge favorite by both odds makers and fans. And looking at the physical stats, Carmont has an advantage in height and reach, but I don't believe that'll work out as an advantage for him in this fight because, as most of you guys feel as well, it's probably going to go to the ground as soon as possible. I think this one ends by submission as well, and I'm going with Jacare by sub in 2. Okay, do we want to discuss this one a little bit before we move on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Jacob, I think it's interesting that you said that Carmont can stifle him in the clinch if he wants to make it a boring fight. I just think that Souza's too good in the clinch for that. I think that all the things that Carmont is good at are like Jacare's bread and butter. I think if he wants to make it a clinch, I feel like Jacare could toss him on his head, and then I just think that when it comes to this fight is like who's going to make mistakes. Like Carmont can't make Souza pay for mistakes necessarily, but as soon as Carmont makes a mistake, I think Jacare is going to be all over him.
Yeah, completely. I don't disagree. I think I can see it going a similar way to how the Okami fight went. To be honest, I think Carmon is arguably Okami is even better than Carmon, and yeah, I think in a way this is sort of a feed-in fight for Souza on the way to a title shot. I think he's a step above than Carmon.
He'll definitely be in the title picture if he wins, yeah.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Yeah, I just see Carmel playing the most cautious game he's ever played, actually.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked decision.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's, Carmont, he's got that winning streak going. Souza is definitely going to be a very hard win for him if he were to pull it off. But I think Jacare is just too much for him. But I think he's going to be, doing a lot of backpedaling and trying to avoid a lot of the takedowns, and I think it's going to be a chess match. If Jacare gets him takedowns, there's a possibility for the sub. He's a beast, but
yeah, he's on another level.
Yeah,
definitely.
And look at the guys that Jacare has fought in his last 5 fights or so, and then look at Carmon's 11-fight win streak. And I think you'll notice a big disparity in the talent level.
And I mean, yeah, Jacare is just dangerous in every position. That's what's scary. It's not like he's, just got one facet where he's really accomplished in, because his striking's on another level at the moment.
Yeah, his boxing's gotten so much better.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think that actually, that raised an interesting point, because I actually think we might see Carmel trying to maybe actually use his striking, where a lot of people early on considered him to be this power striker, and asking where his power went and where that vicious striking that he had, where it went. So I think we might actually see him try to play that a bit, play his advantage by keeping Souza at bay. So.
Well, it's pretty interesting.
I was just gonna say, sorry. Come on, is he training a TriStar?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, one thing, that's a good thing you picked up on there. If you notice with the TriStar guys like George St. Pierre and Rory McDonald, they're very good at establishing their jab. So I think Carmon's if he does play a very sensible, if he has a sensible game plan, utilises his jab, puts Souza on the outside, he could just out jab him to a decision victory. But that's the only way I could see him winning.
Okay, and very odd. We started out the show with all of us in agreement on who the winner is going to be, although we did differ on finishes, but rare that we all picked the same like that. All right, I'm going to throw it over to Wes for fight number 3.
Yeah, all right. Up next, we've got the Brazilian Eric Silva taking on the Japanese Takanori Sato. Definitely a bit of a redemption fight for Eric Silva. So, Damon, how do you see this one playing out?
Actually, I like Silva, but he's too spotty with his record. And if you look at his record as of late, he comes with a win after a loss. And,
that's since he started in the UFC.
Yeah.
Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah, well, he's coming off of a loss, so I'm actually picking him with a win, actually. And I'm going to go with a submission in round 1. Round 1, that's the best time to pull off a submission, because there's the sweat isn't built up, and they're not as slippery. So I'm going to go with Silva and with a submission in round 1.
All right. Submission round 1 for Damon and David.
Yeah, I think they might play around on the feet a bit, so I picked sub round 2. Yeah, I do agree that win-loss thing is spectacular. So I think he is on that way back up. So I see Silva winning. But sub in the second.
All right, Jacob.
I've got Silva in the first round. I think he's going to knock him out. I think that the only problem with Silva is that he's inexperienced, but when he's in there with the right sort of guys, he can, the guys that aren't experienced in the UFC, that's when he shines. And I think he's too much for Sato, and he's going to knock him out in the first.
All right, good stuff. Murat?
I see the Japanese Sato with the first or second round submission by
Oh,
armbar or something. Yeah,
I like that.
I have to go with. Yeah,
First round or second round?
I don't know. Maybe I think second.
Okay.
Rich?
I'm going to give the breakdown here as I see things here. Silva is a massive favorite by odds makers and fans alike. Looking at the physical stats, both guys are virtually the same. Sato seems to be prone to losing by KO or TKO, and Silva has the odd pattern, as we mentioned earlier, with that win-loss since he started in the UFC. As Damon said earlier, his last fight was a loss, so I'm too gambling that he's going to have a win in this one. And I really don't know anything about the Japanese fighter other than what I found out by looking at his fight record, but being that Silva is a massive favorite and Sato is prone to KOs, I'm going to go with Silva by KO in 2.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with Eric Silva as well. I'm going to go with probably a brutal KO in round 1. I know you guys are talking about the win-loss, but his first loss in the UFC was total BS. Horrible call by, I think it was Mario Yamasaki, one of the worst debacles in refereeing I've seen in recent years. I mean, the guy was he hit him in the back of the head maybe twice in the entire time that he was like pounding his face in.
Yeah, I
And
didn't understand that either because they stopped it in 26 seconds. It's like, how much damage can you do in 26 seconds?
Man,
Yeah,
I love it when Joe Rogan completely called him out in the post-fight interview.
Yeah, it was classic. And
Called
look,
out Yamasaki.
yeah, and he didn't even give him a warning. He was just like, and he stopped it, and then after the fact, he called it like a disqualification. He was like, "What are you talking about?" But yeah, I mean, Takanori Sato, I've actually seen him fight before. I used to watch Pancrase in the Japanese circuit a lot. I've seen him fight before. He's like, the most recognizable guy he's ever fought is Joe Dirksen, who knocked him out. So yeah, I'm going with Eric Silva by knockout in round 1. But who knows? Maybe we're all wrong, and Murat will look like a genius. But only time will tell.
Well, most of his losses are by knockout, aren't they? Like 5 knockouts?
Yeah. So, and plus, I mean, Eric Silva's going to be coming with a vengeance after getting like destroyed by stun gun.
And it's in
In Japan, Japanese fighters fight till their burger anyways, so losing by knockout over there isn't too much of a big deal because they encourage violence. I'm just saying,
Bring back the head stomps.
Oh God, yeah, they love it. I mean, they're encouraged. I mean, back in the Pride days, they would lose part of their purse if they weren't fighting.
Yeah, back in the Pride days when you could stomp a guy's head in, but you weren't allowed to elbow.
Yeah, what the hell is
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thing. Although I will, when Shogun did bring that up, I will say that elbows have actually stopped more fights like due to like cut stoppage than
Exactly.
head stomps ever have.
That's because the Japanese didn't want the Pride people didn't want the blood.
Yeah.
Well, that was like the popular reasoning around it.
Well, don't they like the wrestling though, the entertainment wrestling?
Which is also well, yeah, but the UFC has done plenty of entertainment stuff too. But
Yeah, but not like like I'm thinking when I say entertainment wrestling, I'm talking like what they're calling pro wrestling, like WWE.
Oh yeah, Fedor, Crow Cop, Barnett, Sapp, all those guys have done Japanese pro wrestling,
Yeah.
and then way more guys than that.
How many game shows have they done?
Probably even, who knows? But yeah, also like the other thing about elbows is that like when you're doing elbows from the top, it's easy to just hold position and throw elbows instead of going for submissions, and possibly giving up the position, which is why like back in the day you saw crazy submissions in Pride, and in this day and age you see submissions obviously a lot, but a lot of guys are more content to just sit on top and throw elbows all day.
Yeah.
But does anybody else have anything to say about the fight?
I like Silva. I mean, he's an exciting fighter to watch. I'd like to see him actually get a streak going of wins. He needs to do it to get his confidence up. I mean, the dude's got mad talent, and once he gets his stride, once he gets going in the UFC, I think we're gonna see a little beast.
Yeah, especially for a young fighter like him coming off a big loss like that, it's definitely important to get his confidence up. So, he'll probably be looking to take advantage of what, at least on paper, seems like a mismatch to me. You know, so
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Eric Silver, he's never actually been. I wouldn't say he's ever been really dominated in his UFC career. I mean, he's two. I mean, he's got 3 losses, but let's just count out that Carlo Prater shit.
yeah,
His losses over John Fitch and Don Hyun Kim, he's at least looked. He hasn't really looked outclassed, I wouldn't say. He's definitely he rocked both guys, and I just think it's inexperience that's the problem. I think if he can get, as you said, like a good win streak together, he could be a contender, definitely.
yeah, definitely. You know, sometimes when you're a young, like explosive phenom, like a guy like Silva, winning like that is your own worst enemy because then they throw you to the wolves like John Fitch a little too early, you know.
Definitely.
But anybody else got anything to say? Nope. All right, then next we're going to bring it to Viscardi Andrade versus Nicholas Mousasi. Damon, how do you see this one playing out?
I haven't really seen either of them fight much, so I'm actually just going with Andrade by decision, based on the stats I've seen. I don't even know if I read the stats right.
Haven't they both only fought in the UFC one time?
Yeah.
And I don't recall either of them.
Yeah. I don't even think
Mousasi fought Alessio Sakara and submitted him. But David, you want to let us know?
Andrade TKO round 3.
Ooh, all right. And Jacob, what do you think?
I've got Mousasi and in round 1 by submission. But once again, I'm not too educated on either of them. I'm just basically comparing their 2 UFC debuts, and I was more impressed with Mousasi considering he was fighting Alessio Sakara, who's a pretty well-established veteran. He was also fighting him at middleweight. Obviously, he's now fighting his natural welterweight, and yeah, that's all I've got to say.
And how do you pick him?
First round submission for Mousasi.
All right, Murat, what do you think?
I'm going with the Brazilian, of course. I think decision. They're both tough fighters, and they're new to the sport, not maybe to the UFC. I see a decision.
All right. Rich, what do you got for us?
Okay, oddsmakers basically have this one as a flip of the coin, and fans seem to favor Andrade. Looking at their physical stats, both men, again, are nearly identical. This is another matchup where I don't know much about either of these guys. I don't recall either of their fights in the UFC, and they've each fought once in the UFC. Other than looking at their records, that's the only thing I really know about them. But I think this one goes to a decision, and it looks to me like the decision favors Andrade. So I'm going to go with Andrade by decision.
All right. And it's funny what you said about the odds makers having it as a flip of a coin, because that's probably because they haven't seen him fight any more than we have. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with the Brazilian as well. I'm going to go with a unanimous decision as well. Viscardi Andrade, unanimous decision.
All right, does anybody want to talk about that, since none of us really know them? And does anybody know these guys?
Gotta love free previews.
Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes those are the best fights, though. You know. Who knows?
Oh yeah, you never know. I mean,
two Western guys.
I've seen so many. I'd rather have paid for the free previews than the pay-per-views that we've seen.
Yeah, especially like, the last one.
Oh God. That's why they changed the whole bonus system.
Yeah, but with that, I think we're going to take it over to David, who's going to bring us into the next fight. David?
Thank you, Wes. All right, we last fight on the main card, or I guess it'll be the first fight on the main card, but we got Oliveira and Ogle. Damon, how you see this one playing out?
I actually like Charles Oliveira. I mean, he's another exciting fighter to watch. Can't sleep on Andy either, but I've actually got Oliveira by round 2 sub.
There you go. How about yourself there, Jacob?
I've got Oliveira, and I think it's going to go the distance. I think it's going to play out a lot like Cole Miller against Andy Ogle. Oliveira is obviously a lot taller guy, and Ogle struggles against the lengthy dudes. But Yeah, it's good to see that Oliveira isn't being thrown to the sharks again. I mean, he's fought, Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson recently, and I think that's a bit like with Eric Silver, it's a bit too much too soon.
Hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, those kind of losses aren't ones you really can count as
No.
bad losses.
Oh yeah, both very, very, very game opponents. Murat, how do you see that one unfolding?
I'm still going with the Brazilian Charles Oliveira with second round submission.
All
Because
right.
it's in his backyard.
Excellent. Wes, how about yourself?
I'm going to go with Oliver as well. Like you said, he's fought Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson. I mean, who hasn't Cub Swanson knocked out lately? Like, seriously, And, and Oliveira said himself, the Frankie Edgar fight proved I belong, which I think is true. Again, a younger fighter who may have gotten thrown to the wolves a little too soon after a string of a couple really impressive wins. I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira. I'm going to be a little more gutsy, though. I'm going to go submission, probably late round 2.
I
All
picked
right.
up for submission round 2.
Oh, you're gutsy, too.
And Rich, how about yourself? How do you see this going?
Oliveira is clearly the favorite to win this one, both by odds makers and fans. Looking at the physical stats, Oliveira clearly has an edge in my opinion. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage. Both men are the same age, so that really doesn't seem to play into anything here. But it seems like Oliveira seems to struggle against more established fighters. So, again, in this fight, I don't think that's really going to be a factor either. But he really needs a win after losing his last 2 fights. He hasn't fought in 8 months, so maybe that'll play a little bit of a factor in it. But I think knowing that he needs to win this in order to avoid a pink slip, he's going to look to make a statement against Ogle. So I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira by sub and 2.
All right. Yeah, I see this one actually possibly having that potential as fight of the night. Kind of something similar to what we saw with the fight of the night purse also being, I believe it was the KO of the night. Was it the Varner Trujillo that did that? But I think this one, I think we're going to see Oliveira pull off a sub in the third, but I think it's going to be a brawl up until then with even maybe onlookers favoring Ogle a bit. But yeah, I see Oliveira pulling off a late sub, third round.
Interesting.
I think it's going to be a great fight, actually. I do.
Fighter to win. The only one to pick by decision is Jacob.
Is that the third fight that we've all been unanimous about the winner?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. See, the thing that influenced that was with the Overeem Mir fight, where obviously Overeem was absolutely destroying Mir, and he could have finished him, but I think when your back's against the wall, you're a little bit more tentative to go for things in case you get caught.
Yeah, definitely in Overeem's case.
Yeah, and I think Oliveira is going to be the same. He's going to try and play it a bit cautious, just so he isn't cut from the UFC.
Turns out that may have actually cost Overeem. So.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't really see Oliveira as with his back against the wall. I mean, look at who he's lost to: Frankie Edgar, Cub Swanson, Cerrone, Nick Lentz that was overturned, but in Jim Miller, I mean, he's lost to top guys, and
he was destroying Nick Lentz until that DQ too.
Yeah.
And, I really don't see him being up on the chopping block. If he loses again, I mean, he's an exciting fighter to watch, and the UFC likes to keep people like that around. And
yeah, he's an emotional fighter.
The UFC keeps saying that they've got an overstaffed roster and they need to cut guys, but I keep hearing that they keep on hiring more guys that we've never even heard of. So
yeah.
Well, that's because they're trying to go global.
Yeah, they hired this past week like African heavyweight and 2 guys out of Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, for me, I definitely agree. Oliveira's faced like a lot of tough opposition, but he's lost 2 in a row, and obviously the UFC are trying to give him a sort of I'd say Ogle's a lot easier fight than Frank Edgar or Cub Swanson.
Oh, clearly. I mean, when you look at the odds on this fight, minus
Yeah.
585 for
And
Oliveira
I
and
think
plus 501 for Ogle. So this
if
is
he
like
can't
a
get
given
past
fight.
if he can't get past Andy Ogle, then
Yeah.
he'll be 3 in a row with a loss to Andy Ogle in his last fight.
And that would pretty much earn you a pink slip, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they're saying to I don't know why, but there is the thing to bet heavy on Ogle for that fight, and another one that they're saying about the underdog, the Japanese guy actually. They're saying if those were the two underdogs to pick because of how the odds are, the odds even seem just a little off, and I guess that's why they're favoring them as two underdogs to actually pick to win. So
Wow.
You never know.
I don't know, man. When I look at odds like that, that tells me that it's a sure thing.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just some of the things I was reading. I always do normally absolutely go that way, but then just some of the things that I was reading kind of made sense. Now, being from Brazil, I mean, that may also play a big factor, being a lot of Brazilian fighters really put on a show when they're there. That's for sure.
How is Andy Ogle doing in the UFC? I can't even think.
I think he's 1-2.
Is he?
Yeah, I know he lost his first fight against that Akira Kurosani, but that was a split decision. He dropped his last fight against Cole Miller, and he beat Josh Grisby.
Yeah, he beat Josh Grisby, but yeah, he lost to Kurosani, he lost to Cole Miller.
I disagree though with you guys on thinking that Oliveira is going to be on the chopping block if he does lose, just because he's an exciting fighter, and
I don't think he's going to get a pig slip if he loses.
I don't think they've said anything about that. Usually they'll say that it's a do or die situation, and I haven't heard anything about that on Oliveira. I mean, the fighters he's lost to are top-notch fighters. He's an exciting fighter to watch too, and that's what the UFC wants, especially after 10 decisions in the last event.
Plus,
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see any way he loses this fight. And again, that's why I'm saying this is a give-me fight to, get him back on the winning track.
Even if he does lose, you can always put him on the undercard in a Brazilian event.
Yeah.
Exactly. Them Brazilians, man, they bring it.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have anything to add? Otherwise, I'm going to flip it back to Rich. All right, Rich.
Okay, guys. Let's do the final thoughts segment really briefly here. Is there anything that we missed that you guys might want to talk about? Any undercard fights that you might want to mention?
No.
No.
Bunch of dudes fighting.
I'm pretty,
Yes, I
I'm pretty excited about the Yuri Alcantara fight. I'm surprised.
Yeah, that was one that I was thinking that we might.
Actually, good point. Yeah.
I'm surprised that didn't make it to the main card.
I wonder why
we could have done with that over Andrade versus Mousasi. Yeah. That's actually good. He's fighting Wilson Hayes. Those are two really good fighters.
Yeah, and Alcantara, arguably he beat Uriah Faber in the first round of their fight. He won that first round. I mean.
Oh yeah, he's a very talented fighter.
Yeah, he's a big dude as well for bantamweight. And yeah, I think also that the Maximo Blanco fight. I'm excited for that. He's
vicious.
Yeah, he's such a. Honestly, you think if you're watching Maximo Blanco, you think your telly's like on fast forward. He's so quick.
Just look at his face when you see like his pictures, dude. He looks so angry and like evil.
Okay, anything else on that?
Yes, I got undercard Albert Taimenov from Russia.
Okay, go ahead and enlighten us on that.
Huh?
Go ahead and let us know about that fight.
Yeah, I think he's gonna win. He's a known fighter. He just signed with the UFC. He's with K Dojo, some of my friends from there, and I think he's gonna win this fight. I don't know, by knockout, I think. He really wants to be in the UFC. And
a lot of those Russian fighters, man, they're real power strikers, man.
Yeah, we've seen a surge of Russians coming in, and some have looked really good, some haven't, but the ones that have looked good, oh my God,
I'm the next one.
Yeah, it's like the next. It's like we got a Russian invasion going on here in the UFC.
Well, not only in the UFC, in Bellator especially. I mean, they're looking really good over in Bellator, the Russian fighters.
Shlemenko's been knocking dudes out in Bellator.
Yeah.
He's dominated there for a bit.
I mean, they pretty much already took over boxing again, you know?
Yeah.
Klitschko, brother.
Yeah, just one final thought. I noticed it was added, I think, quite late. The first night, the first fight of the night, there's a dude who's 22-0 from Brazil, called Douglas de Andrade.
Wow.
I think he's one to look out for.
I didn't even look at the undercard fights because they're all going to be on Fight Pass, and I do not have Fight Pass, so.
Me neither.
Not just one or two fights this time. The entire preliminary card is on Fight Pass.
Yeah, they're really trying to sell that, aren't they?
Well, I'm not buying. I mean, come on. How much? I spent $60 for the pay-per-views already. Come on, are you serious?
Yeah, I hope that thing fails like none other.
Me too. I really don't like, having to be positioned into a corner where now you've got to shell out money to watch fights that otherwise would have been free, on Facebook or on television, and you don't even know who the fighters are. So why are you going to want to pay money for fighters that you've never even heard of?
Well, I believe it's still a free preview on, you still, the UFC Fight Pass is still free.
Until March 1st, yeah.
But, I mean, for real.
Free until March 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to give your credit card.
Yeah, you got to give your credit card. You got to give your credit card, and don't know how, I had the $1 charge, which I can understand them doing that to make sure that the credit card's valid, but, the companies need to, especially the UFC, put that in the damn writing, say, hey, we're going to charge your credit card $1,
That's sketchy. That's, like, for an organization like the UFC, that's sketchy.
It is.
Yeah, you got to figure how many millions of people are they expecting on signing up for that. So $1 times millions is a lot of money.
It's free, but for $1. So $22 million from $1 charges.
Yeah, it did get credited back. But the thing is, you need to put that out there. I mean, a lot of companies do that. Like Sony PlayStation, they'll do that too. They'll hit the credit card before they actually take the money out with $1 to make sure it's a valid account. But with the Fight Pass, I just want to see it fail because I want them to rethink it and come back and make it more like a Netflix or a Hulu Plus, where you can just subscribe and how much you're going to pay. You don't have to worry about it. And the thing that got me with the terms of service is to check back every day, or we might change things.
Yeah, what?
All of a sudden you look and you got a $20
let me sign up for that.
on your bill from past events you watched or something.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We've reached the end of the time. Jacob, good to have you back on, buddy. I appreciate you showing up.
Thanks for having me on.
Marat, I'm glad that you showed up today too. How'd you like doing the show with us?
I liked it. I was kind of shy, but next time I will be better.
Okay, no problem. Well, you're welcome to join us.
Worked out with your picks, though.
Okay, guys,
Good
we'll
luck
do
this
another
weekend,
show. We'll do the post-event show. That's going to be Sunday, so you guys are all welcome to come back and join me for that as well. We'll talk about the event, and we'll also speak about how we did with our predictions as well. All right, guys, if anybody wants to say goodbye, now is the time to say goodbye.
See you guys
Bye,
on
guys.
Saturday.
All right, folks. Goodbye.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. We'll talk together.
Cheers, y'all.
I guess on Sunday we'll get together. Y'all are free to come by.
Take it easy.
All righty, bye-bye.
Yes.
See y'all next time.